Good afternoon and welcome to just a live stream with the one and only Don Green. I never get your title right, Don. You're the executive director of Napoleon Hill Foundation, but you're also the CEO. Is that right?
Yes, yes.
Okay. I thought so. So, Don, you've become a friend of mine over the years now, and I'm very grateful for that. But you had sent me a couple of books that you just published, and I thought, you know what, let's just go live and tell everybody about them. So why don't you talk about the first book is the Napoleon Hill. Let's back up first. Tell everybody a little about yourself and how you even got involved with Napoleon Hill and what your previous, just for those that are watching that don't know, what are some of your what's your background? What got you involved with Napoleon Hill?
Well, start off with, I've been an avid reader all my life. We had the Bible in the house, but we didn't have books. Of course, your parents grew up during the Depression. Dad was an underground coal miner. They're not going to buy books when they don't even have one, don't have a bathroom in the house or running water. So, as my friend Warren Buffett said, he found out that rich people read books, poor people watch television. And I think there might be a lot to that. But I just, as an avid reader, I read everything. We did have good libraries in the schools, and I read everything I could get my hand on. I read about successful people. I guess it started a dream. I read every biography I could get my hand on, and just read. And when I got into Napoleon Hill, I found out he was from this area, and then I not only really read his material over and over, I made it a point to try to get everything, read everything that he read also, and what he influenced him. And fact is, I cover some of that in a new book called Self Help Pioneers that'll be released in January, I think. But anyway, it's not what we're talking about. But
Well, we can talk about that. What's it called again?
Self Help Pioneers.
Self-help pioneers. Well, Napoleon Hill was certainly that.
Yeah, he was one of the new thought leaders, and you know, so many people affect him, like the Samuel Smiles. He wrote a book called 1859 Self Help Psychology, probably the first self help book, or I consider it so. And but Orson Swett Martin read that same book. And of course, we all know Orson Swett Martin. He wrote 60 some books,
Yeah.
and he borrowed from them. And I wrote one whole chapter on women in the book. For example, there's a lady by the name of Ella Wheeler Wilcox. She was involved in women's suffrage, high paid prize speaker. And she wrote about how our conscious mind affects our subconscious mind. And he'll give her credit. He pretty much well quoted her. And he mentions her name in some of his writing. And there's a guy, John Dewey, wrote a book about the turn of the century on how we think. And he read. And I tried to read those things too. Uh, for example, in self help psychology, he wrote a lot about on persistence, about people stuck with something for a long, long time. Like, let's see, one guy was Isaac Watt, did the steam engine, talked about how long it took him to perfect it, and
Yeah.
different things. And so he learned from different ones. And like I said, he read and read, and so I I run across his things that he called um, miracles of life, and and I thought, well, I'll put that together, and because uh, the of course some of them, like 12 miracles, we talk about. He talks about the power of faith. Well, we all know that you got to have a belief system uh,
Yeah.
to because if you don't believe you can do it, you're not going to put the effort out. And but and he wrote about the law of change, how things change and affects us. And you think, uh, and he wrote wrote about failure may be a blessing. Well, you would think, what will I learn from failure? Well, sometimes we learn what not to do is,
Yeah.
is as important as what to do.
Amen.
I was a bank president for 18 years, and I had someone ask me one time, what's the best deal you ever did? I said, probably the one I didn't do.
Right.
And because we don't live long enough to make all the mistakes, we can read what other. If you watch this old boy put his hand on the stove and he gets burnt, you're not going to follow up and try what he did. I remember listening. You probably Jim Rohn, if you remember Jim Rohn. I listened,
Yep. Jim Rohn was brilliant.
and he said, I love to hear him talk. He said in the Bible they had two kinds of people. So he had the people in there that gave examples of they did it wrong, and he said then you got them examples, them people that did it right. And he said, what I'm trying to tell you, if anybody ever thinks enough about you to write you in a book, make sure you're the good example instead of the bad one. So we don't
That's
we don't live long enough to make all the make all the. I mean, just like writing about the master of poverty. Man, I was a bank president for 18 years, but I learned how to make money before I started school, and I did it out of necessity because if I wanted anything, I'd pick up pop balls and to accumulate it. I never,
yeah.
I never joined the Boy Scouts or them other things because the parents did not put money out for things like that. And you don't when you don't have running water and you're trying to feed 5 kids. So that money that you make as a child means so much. I go into one of the largest department stores, which we all know who they are, and we see the kids putting money into those slot machines or what you call it. That
Yeah.
money means nothing to them kids. Either parent or grandparent give it to them. They stick it in the first slot. But if they walk 3 or 4 miles to get 20 or 25 pop balls at a penny apiece, they ain't gonna drop them nickels and dimes in a hole somewhere or another. They gonna lay that money up and they're gonna count it and they gonna count it and they gonna count it
Yep.
because they did something to earn it. And those lessons learned is it stay with you all your life. You look at something other and and uh, and see what you can do with it. Uh, so I enjoyed doing it, but you stop and thinking, well, what can you learn from failure, or what can you learn from poverty? We learn a lot from it, and we have to learn every day because when we quit growing, that's when we start dying.
Well, you and I've talked about this before on live streams, and the people I've heard people say that and for those watching that aren't familiar with Napoleon Hill, he was one of the most brilliant men to ever live, but he wrote a book that's changed a lot of lives called Think and Grow Rich. And Don, I don't know how long you've been the executive director there, but I know it's been a long time, and you've done a lot to really put Napoleon Hill's books and writings and teachings on the map. But there was this during the Great Depression, there was this energy just surging throughout the United States of negativity and expectation of failure, and you've talked about that, how this book has, some people have said that this book put an end to the Great Depression and single-handedly. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it did a lot. I mean, in that self help pioneer, there's some of the people that they had large gatherings of people in places like New York City and so forth. That they basically they were preaching this material and to uplift people and to encourage them. And it was really important because when Hill at the very beginning of first speech, the famous fireside chats that Roosevelt gave, Hill took credit for it. In fact, as we have letters in the file from the White House, he said we have nothing to fear but fear itself. and that's important. Fact is, one of the books I'm working on now, I'm just getting into it. It's victim mentality. People have a victim mentality. You know,
Mm-hmm.
like Ken, I can say nobody's harmed today. I'm too old for that job. I don't know nobody, and
Yeah.
we talk ourselves out of it. You ask me how I got the job. I give you the best example in the world. Sometimes our ship don't come in. Who can keep you from swimming out where it is? Nobody but yourself. I was a bank president 18 years, and I gave a little talk at the Historical Society. They did not feed me, didn't pay me. But when I got home, I took my yellow pad off my nightstand. I wrote a letter. I wrote it to Napoleon Hill Foundation, told them what I was doing. They invited me to dinner. And I flew up to Chicago, W. Clement Stone, met
Yeah.
him, met him at the airport, and he knew the people at the airlines, and they had a meeting room there, and they had catered a meal into us. And
Hold it. W. Clement Stone met you at the airport?
yeah, yeah.
That's unbelievable. That is, you say it like it's like, yeah, that's incredible. He is a freaking legend. That's like saying Jesus met me at the airport.
I got his I got his letter framed on the wall in there.
Oh my gosh.
Part of a contrast. I got a letter from him, and then I've got a picture with him with Ronald Reagan at the White House. It says, "To my friend Clem," but I've been offered all kinds of money from his old company. I said, "Nope, nope." That will hang there. But see, we talked about the books, and fact is, he said, "Boy, I swear, you know more about these books than I do." He said, "You ought to be a board member." And I said, "What I'd have to do, Mr. Stone?" Everybody called him Mr. Stone except Ronald Reagan called him Clem. We never called him. We always dress him as Mr. Stone. And he said, "Attend the board meetings. We'll pay expenses and keep up with what's going on." And of course, I'd president of the bank for 18 years, and the other guy had been injured in the fall, and he couldn't travel. And they said, "Don, we got to get somebody. Mike wants to retire, his age and his health." And I said, "Well, some of the trustees of the banks I got a lot of stock, would like to sell." And I said, so I went. We sold the bank. I went from working one day to Monday. I set the office up and transferred their accounts, and they had 16 books. I've not counted them recently, but we're hitting around 150 some books. But it's took me 25 years. I'm in my 25th year.
So, talk about, because I know that, I mean, you've put out some unbelievable material. I was talking to somebody last night about, I think it was my buddy Buckster who's watching right now over on X. Buckster said that I think it was Buckster said his favorite book is Outwitting the Devil. I said, "Oh, that was, yeah, Napoleon Hill, and Sharon Lecter really did a great job with that too." What are some of your most favorite projects with the Napoleon Hill Foundation? Then we're going to get into this 12 miracles. I really want to talk about that, but talk a little bit about some of the projects that you've done with Napoleon Hill Foundation that are your favorites.
Well, of course, Outwit the Devil is a long story. That was written in 1938, and I had that manuscript. And the board basically says we're never going to publish that book. And so I'd read it
Wow.
more than once. And so I talked to the chairman one day, and of course, his Napoleon sent him to school as his uncle, and he told me, he said, "Don, them women don't want that book published dealing with the devil." Kind of got to me one day, and I said, I'll use a good word, and I said, "Charlie, them women are both dead. One of them was Annie Lou, Hill's wife, and the other was Charlie's wife, who was a doctor also. They both, well, you're going to publish it anyway. Go ahead." And I said, "No, no, no, Charlie, you're the chairman. I said, but we can make money on it. Believe me, we will make money, big money. Go ahead. So I got the thing published, bestseller list. Sharon and I, we traveled to New York with Sterling, which is Barnes and Noble. We got a good deal on the thing. And one day he called and told his assistant, let me speak to Don. He always called me Don. He said, Don, I'm speaking to 50 some cardiologists. I'd like to give them all one of that devil book. So my assistant, Zane, he sent him a box of books. And I told Zane, boy, he don't, for years he didn't want me to publish it. Now he wants me to give it away. But that was fun. It's in 70 some different languages.
Yeah.
How many countries that is. And it's done remarkably well. And it will be a movie with, God, don't let me get it wrong. I believe it's Lionsgate. But
Wow.
anyway, and
Is Sharon involved in the movie side of it?
well, no, we sold the rights to it, so
I got you.
they put up the money, but and there will be a television series developed on that.
What?
Yeah, that's what
Wow.
that's one of the things we're working on. We
That's
found somebody,
incredible.
Kim. We don't spend our money. We spend somebody else's money.
Right.
But that was a favorite that was a favorite project, and just so many of them getting a. It was a project to get this material taught in the college on the college level. And of course, I organized the class and taught it. It's been taught. This is the 27th year. I taught it even before I had this job, and
Wow.
and now we're doing it in foreign countries. I spent a couple of weeks in Japan 2 months ago, and we're doing them as a digital. The course we call it Keys to Success, based on the 17 principles, and we got a lot of interest in that. We've got hundreds. And I think the other day I was sitting down. I'm sure I've helped 1,000 some kids go to college.
That's just incredible. So, and people don't know. There's a lot of people that don't know about that, about you and what you do for the kids and the scholarships. Why don't you talk a little about that?
Well, I just we made some money, and so I started giving some scholarships at $500, and some of them get as much as 15,000, and and,
Wow.
and they just a slew of them, and they get 4 years as long as they're in, long as they maintain their grades in school. But then I thought, well, why don't we offer it to high school kids? And this year we'll have somewhere in the 250 or 300 high school kids getting 3 years credit. It's been
Wow.
paid for. They get college credit, plus they get a scholarship. They're eligible for scholarships here at the college. And there's so many good stories of, and we've set endowments up. We've got um, the the classes. Each one have millions of dollars in endowments. The earnings, the earning pay what it costs to do it, or we don't spend the money. We only spend the money, the earnings off the money that we've created, that's been invested through the University of Virginia,
Yeah.
and we want to keep on doing that as long as we're making a difference. I could tell you story after story after story of the kids that's taken the material and what they've come, what's become of them, and so forth.
Well, I think, one of the things that I was telling again, having a conversation. I have a lot of conversations with people about mindset and getting out of a poverty mindset, and I always recommend the very first book is Think and Grow Rich, and it's not because I love you so much, which I do. I think the world of you. It's because rumor has it, and I've heard this. I've never seen an interview with somebody super successful that didn't say that they read Think and Grow Rich, applied the principles of that in their life and in their business, and became successful not just financially but in every other way. I can't imagine how many thousands of stories you've heard like that from people, Don.
Yeah, it's amazing. Even I mean, see, we go to the book fair. This will be my seventh trip in October, and a couple of years ago, Alan, my assistant, was with me, and we didn't leave. We don't leave the book fair. There's about 250,000 people there, and we just leave the booth long enough to get a sandwich.
Yeah.
And so we, in traveling foreign countries, they'll sit down to the table with you if he's not his face, unlike over here. And so these two ladies are sitting, and I sit across from one, Alan sat across from the other, and one, I don't have my jacket on, but a lady leaned over and she said, "What is that?" And I said, "That's a Think and Grow Rich lapel pin." "Oh, we published that book." And I said, "Where are you from?" She said, "The Netherlands." And the week before that, we'd got a wire, and I remember it was $42,000. And so I did what I would do if I met you at the airport and you commented on that Think and Grow Rich pin. I'll simply remove it and give it to you. And I've given away a ton of them.
You gave me one.
It's the best conversation piece I can think of.
Yep, you gave me one. I still, it's on my desk at home. I love that thing. And I think that I mean, you've done so many projects. You've got you said 7 books coming out between now and April, I believe, of next year. Um, and I don't think that there's a better time because there is a lot of negativity uh, surging throughout the U.S. and the world, quite frankly. And I think that people need to learn how to get control of their emotions and their their negative mindset and change it, turn it around. And so I would love for you to talk about the 12 miracles of life and what this is about and how people can read this book and apply it and change their life.
Well, we picked out, coming from studying the science of success, 12 topics, and starting off with the prayer of faith. I mean, people say they have faith, but there's more than faith. It's applied faith. And say, can you say you believe something? Do you really believe it? Do you believe it enough to stick your neck out? Do you really have faith? He'll refer to it as applied faith. Don't say you believe something other, and you keep saying you believe it, but you don't ever do anything about it. You have to have a faith that you can accomplish something other. I kind of put it down to the 3 P's, and I say purpose, plan, and persistence. First off, we got to have a purpose, starting point of all achievement. We got to have a desire for something other, and then we got to make plans. Even if they're not good plans, you can always change your plans. And then the third one is persistence. If we really believe in something other, we're going to take the plans. If you and I are going to leave here and say we're going to South Carolina, my daughter's got a nice place down there in Hilton Head.
Let's go. I'm on the way.
Okay. And the last time we was going down there, she's driving. We're going up Interstate 26, and I looked over to the left, and there's a big brick church. Don't even know what kind it was. It had a wall on it. Ken Wall had a wall that you could read the writing on. And the writing said, "Where there is no vision, the people perish." Job. I told my daughter, I said, "I'm going to write a book on that." On what? On vision? I said, people, we grew up saying, "Yeah, I'll believe it when I see it." No, that's backwards. You'll see it when you believe it. You got to believe it first.
Come
So,
on, that's
so,
freaking powerful.
so
That's so powerful.
when I got back, I called the publisher and told them the little incident I had about the a vision. And I would like to write a little book. And they said, "We'll give you a contract for it." I wrote that little book in 2 weeks of a night after I come home. And they published it. It looked like it's doing quite well because it is mindset. But you know what? The opposite of that other side of that coin is so is poverty or mindset. People they have poverty, they expect poverty. What do they get? They get poverty.
Amen.
The mind doesn't care what we dwell on. It'll take up what we feed into it. And those things we repeat over and over becomes a part of our subconscious.
Well, the first P you talked about is purpose, right? So how I have Buck on here. So Don, I have a mastermind with a couple hundred members in it, and he's asking for you to come and talk to everybody at my Grow Live. We've talked about you doing that. I've had Jeffrey Gittimer and Mark Victor Hansen, Glenn Morse, all kinds of people in there. It's been amazing. But anyway, what about somebody that says, um, with the purpose thing, what if they don't really know what their purpose is and that's their crutch? They use that. They say, I don't know what my purpose is. I know I'm meant to do something bigger, but I don't know what that is. How do you guide them? What do you say to them?
Well, someone can't give you your purpose. You have to discover it yourself. And I think one of the ways is through reading. I mean, the boy Chuck Slim took our course, and the reason I mentioned him at the graduation this past year, he was chosen by the college to deliver the commencement address. Now, Chuck's a little guy, and he took the course and he told the 6,000 people there that when he didn't know what he was doing in college and having a good time, and said he took that keys to success and it said, you got to have your purpose. And he got to ask himself, what do you want to do? And he said, it just come to him, it'd be nice to be an attorney. So he said his plans on being an attorney. He graduated, went to law school, he passed the bar, and he ran for office as a Commonwealth attorney for the county and was
Wow.
elected. And then the past governor, who I'm going to have dinner with next Tuesday night, Governor Youngkin, he
Wow.
he took Chuck and put him in the Attorney General's office, and it all started with him finding his purpose. He wanted to become a lawyer, and he took it from Withrow because nobody can give that to you. And it's the same thing with the plans. He'll said after you have a purpose, the main thing is getting started. Most people wait until they get everything it's ready, or if something comes up. Like I said, was if Ken and I was going to Hilton Head and we got across Sam's Gap, it's the wintertime, lots of times the road's blocked. I'm telling you, they act blocked. And I say, Ken, well, we might as well go home. No, Don, we'll turn around and go down the foot of the mountain, and we'll go a different route. Take us longer to get there, but we'll go a different route. So if you really want something other, you start from where you are, and then if the plans don't work out, you change the plans. You may have to get somebody to help you or whatever. And then the solution to it is the persistence. You stick with it. And you keep telling yourself, this I'm going to do, this I'm going to do, this I'm going to do. Because would you learn anything? We learn it by repeating it. If you learn your ABCs, you said them over and over again. Unless you're smarter than I am, I didn't get them all the first time. I missed some of them. But
Yeah.
we learn by repeating them. If
Yeah.
somebody says, Ken, what's 8 times 8? 64. It may have been in the sixth grade the last time you done that, but you said it so many times, it's in your subconscious mind. And most of the time, you can recall it. And that's
Yeah.
how we learn, by repeating things to our subconscious. And like I said, the other side of that is the negativity works same way. If we keep repeating ourselves, I'm never going to amount to nothing, on and on and on. And he'll listed 30 some different things people use. But when Kenny published that book, Think and Grow Rich, he had up the top of it, for men and women who resent poverty. That was in the middle of the Depression. Now,
Wow.
it stayed on the first few issues, and then the publisher put 2.5 million copies sold, 5 million copies sold, 10 million copies sold. So when I decided to publish the original issue, I went back and had the cover design from his personal copy, and I put that statement at the top back on the book, for men and women who resent poverty, on top of the book, because that's what it was about. I mean, people say, well, it's not about money. Yeah, it is about money. The principles apply to us too, but it is about money because you wrote it right during the middle of the Depression.
I love what Zig Ziglar used to say, and I know you were friends with Zig, and he said, people say, not everything's about money. He said, but it ranks right up there with oxygen.
Yeah, can't live without it. Yeah, I love
Can't.
it. I got a big picture in my office with him. We did a fundraising at a Christian college up in Pennsylvania, and it was December 2003. Really, Don,
Wow.
God loves you, and I do too. Yeah, he was a good. We said also. He said, uh, people said money's not important. Said you better watch them. They allow about anything.
Yeah, exactly. But I think that, there's a lot of people who are brought up, they're raised with that poverty mindset, and they almost wear poverty like a badge of honor. Like it's like something they're supposed to be, or something and I always say, like, look, man, if you want to help people in this world, it's really hard to help people, um, you know, without money.
Oh
I,
yeah, there's a bumper sticker here in town I've saw a few times. It says, "If you want to help poor people, just make sure you're not one of them."
right. I heard that Lincoln originated that. As what I heard, but I don't know if that's true or not.
Probably so, but it is true. It begins with your. It begins with yourself. Begins with
Yeah.
yourself.
I think, quite honestly, I mean, you look at the book Think and Grow Rich, and for anybody who hasn't read that and literally studied it, I'm friends with Brian Proctor, Bob Proctor's son. I'm sure you know Brian. And
Yes.
um, what's that?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, and Bob built his entire career around Think and Grow Rich. He carried that old copy with him everywhere he went and talked about it on, I think, just about every stage he was ever on. The entire movie, The Secret, you could just say, hey, that was about the book Think and Grow Rich.
Well, they wrote Secret as a law of attraction.
Yeah.
Hill wrote about law of attraction in 1919. So
Jeez.
the book Secret resonated with people, and then someone was fortunate to get on Oprah's show, and that was enough to do it. But
Yeah.
honestly, uh, I published the article on the law of attraction. Hill wrote it in 1919 in Golden Rule magazine, and I published that in a book with with John Wiley and Son. I published it
Wow.
where he talked about the law of attraction. So it's
Wow.
so it's not nothing new. I mean, even the people that Hill read that I wrote about in the book on the self help pioneers. Uh,
Which is coming out in, you said, January, Self Help Pioneers?
I believe it. I believe it is. I got it on my desk. I got the email with the seven and the order they're coming out. The one in November. I mean August 5th. You'll get one. I usually get them a few weeks ahead of time. It's speak it into reality. In other words, it basically it's all those suggestions of what the conversations we have with ourselves.
What I think that is probably the most important principle of all, is the conversations we have with ourselves.
There's a guy. There's a book I used in college by the name Shad Helmstettler, Helmstttler. He got a PhD, and he says the book is simply what do you say when you talk to yourself. The most
Mm,
important conversations you'll ever have is not one that someone says to you. It's the ones you say to yourself. When someone says, "Ken, you can't you can't hit that ball across that water," and you can believe them, or you can say to yourself, "Let me show you." You
yep.
can demonstrate. As Hill said, don't tell people, show them. But that conversation we have with ourselves is extremely important. Uh,
Yeah.
that Even Zig said when he was doing sales door to door, and I remember him saying, of course, it resonated with me because I was a finance business, starting over $1.15 an hour. We financed a lot of sales paper because it's 20 some odd percent. But he
Yeah.
sold cookware. He sold cookware stuff door to door. And he said he'd be driving and he'd drive by a house. He said, "Yeah, hey, you can tell by the house they ain't got no money." So he wouldn't even stop. He'd go by that and he'd say, "And they look like they about cut all the lights out." And said he's driving back all over town, and he's convinced himself that they're not going to buy. And Mr. Stone told us a story one time, which I'll never forget it. He said, of course, he trained salespeople. That's what Augmentino went to work for him doing, and
Yeah.
others. But he said this guy come to him one morning and said, I need some leads. I'm just not doing no good selling insurance. And he said, come back, and told him when to come back. And he gave him 10. In a day or two, the guy come back, oh, Mr. Stone, I did great. He said, I sold 7. 2 of them still thinking about it. I need another list. He said, he reached over and got the phone book. He said, I'm busy. He said, I went through there and picked out 1 out of the A's, 1 out of the B's, and 1 out of the C's and give them to you. He said, see, your problem was you had convinced yourself that them people weren't going to buy. But when I provide you a list, you consider them prospects. So when you knocked on the door, you had to feel these people ready to buy. See, he was sold on it if they was good. But see, we could talk ourselves out of it. I taught my daughter, and I'll repeat it. She's the best Girl Scout cookie salesperson I ever seen. I told her, I said, your mama is going to take you around the neighborhood with the cookies. They had 4 kinds. You wear your little uniform. Mom will wait in a car for you and watch you. And when you ring the doorbell, when they come to the doorbell, you tell them your name is Donna, that you belong to a Mount Carmel Girl Scout troop, what the number is. Show all your little badges and so forth. And we're selling 4 cookies for the Girl Scouts. You name them over. Peanut butter, chocolate chip, mint, and I'll give them what the other was. There's 4 of them. And you ask them, which ones do you want to buy? Which one do you
Mm,
want to buy? Yes. You don't, and of course, what would be a normal kid said, knock on the door, you don't want to buy no cookies, do you? And they can say yes or no. But when you ask them to pick a brand, then you done got them sold because you know they're going to buy you cookies. She,
amen.
she went in the bank one Saturday with her mother to get a little money. And she goes up to the counter. She's probably 10 years old. And she told one of the girls, my daddy's got a lot of money in this bank. Me, I had $300 or $400 because I was making $75 a week at that time. And she said, I would like for y'all to help me sell Girl Scout cookies. Well, that was Kingsport National Bank right downtown, if I recall. There was at least 6 teller windows across the front. So when I would send the people down there to make deposits or whatever, they'd come back and say, Don, that teller down at the bank said they need some more of your cookies. And
Oh my gosh.
the tellers were all competing which one could sell the most of little Donna Green's cookies. And she sold more than the troop put together because and guess what? She still does it today. I mean, she's married, been married 33 years, and 34, and she's a NBA, she's a
Wow.
CPA, tax bit. She's got 3 different businesses, and her husband's a finance guy now with an MBA from William and Murray. And when they need a car or something or other, or to get a new phone plan, he lets Donna go do it. He lets her go do it because
Yeah.
uh, and well, like right now, the lady she's working with who I met, they own the Bristol Hard Rock Casino, which is a it costs $550 to construct. And that's
Wow.
the kind of client she's got that she does it goes in. She goes into their summer homes or their homes and does the interior decorating recommendations and lays it out. She don't do the work. She just gives them ideas of what she can accomplish. Uh, and I mean, like her work a few years ago, she did my grandson's townhouse in Charlotte. Did it for a boy, and one of his friends saw it, and she ends up with 8 pages in Better Homes and Gardens over one little job she did for her son. And you can imagine how much business she got off of that free
Yeah.
placement. But she learned that stuff at an early age. We still kid about making 3% on things you buy and buy and sell. But
You you, you in the book The 12 Miracles of Life, you and by the way, we're going to talk about career success plan as well. My 15-year-old daughter, I mean, she's so outgoing and I mean, she's unbelievable. And I'm like, I showed her that book and I said, you want to read this book, Career Success Plan? And she said, it's summertime, maybe not right now. And I said, okay, well, we'll put it on your list. You're going to read this book. But let's talk about the 12 miracles of life, the science of success. So the first one is the inexorable power of faith. Then you've got the law of growth through eternal change and the necessity of growth through struggle. You've got all these amazing chapters in here, and, I feel like there's a lot of people right now who are kind of at a crossroads um, in life with, the economy, with everything going on. How can they implement some of this stuff to make serious change immediately in their life?
Well, sometimes, particularly the finance, sometimes it's small things repeated over a period of time. I used to do a lot of debt canceling when I was in a bank. Don't mean to boast, but I financed homes for 18 years. I never foreclosed on one, not one.
Wow.
And I'm not saying they didn't get behind, but I would offer to come in on Saturday and cancel them, and I make them account for their money. I said, if they got two payments behind, I said, here's three solutions. Don't do nothing, which is what you're doing. I'm going to sell you real estate. You'll have to rent your place. The second thing is, if you want out of it, I'll give you some time to list it with a realtor to sell it and pay the debt off. I said, and the third thing is, if you really want your house, I'll work with you. But you're going to have to show me where your money is going. I want to know what you spend your money on for a month. And you'd be surprised. And sometimes they had heated arguments. He'd say, yeah, she spends $50 a week to get her hair done. And then you ask them how many times they're eating out a week. And I said, there's one word. There's only one word you need to know. And that word is discipline. You have to discipline yourself. That's the reason their prisons are locked up. One word missing, this. They can't discipline themselves. They end up in a place, if they cut the lights out on them, they give them what food they want them to have, they give them 30 minutes of exercise yard. All they had to learn in life is learn what discipline from Napoleon Hill, learn discipline. And I said, you can reward yourself. You've been eating out 4 or 5 times a week. Just say you're going to eat out on Saturday night, and you're going to limit it. And you take different things like that. You got 3 credit cards. Don't take one of them and cut it up, pay extra on it till it's paid off, and then tack the other ones. And I said, the first time you got a credit card and you can't pay it off when it comes in, take the scissors and cut it up because you can't manage your money. I said, whether we think about it or not, there's 2 classes of people in the world. One is drawing interest on their investments, and the other are paying it. So consciously or unconsciously, we make those choices. And when you learn those things and you repeat them over and over, I said they become a habit. And after a while, them habits make us. And we don't think about it. But I assure you, when you get up from morning and put your shoes on, you put the same one on first every time, whether it be the left or the right and what have you. Because you've done it so many times that you don't even have to think about it. If you get through eating your meal, you don't say, now what do I do next? You get up and go brush your teeth. I mean, you don't. If you've done it so many times, you repeat it and you repeat it. And the finances are not that hard if you have discipline, and if you're spending everything you make and then spending more than you make but getting credit cards, you can't keep kicking a can down the road and get another credit card. That's not the solution. Is to get another card. And I guess we borrowed one of Zick's old quotes. It all comes down to Ken, just one thing. How bad do you want it? How bad do you want it? And it's not that difficult. Yep. If you'll do those little things, you'll line them up and you get them part of it till they become a habit. And
Amen.
I mean, a young person sit down today with a pencil and a paper and whatever. It's rather easy to get a net worth of $1 million. That may sound far fetched to a lot of people. But they might be surprised on how many people there are that's got a net worth of $1 million, and not overnight, but those things that they can do. It's a little bit. I see people trading cars and still owe the one they got, and they'll trade cars because the salesman's told them you don't have to make this much payment. We'll give you 2 months, make another, and they think they got 3 months. There's no free lunches. You're going to pay for that car one way or the other. And the longer you drive it, the longer it's giving you service. Um, the last car I bought and didn't pay for was a 1966 Chevrolet. I,
Oh my goodness.
I remember that 1966, and that's the last one. Last one.
That's the last car you financed was in 1966.
Yeah, it was a Chevrolet. The payments were $86.45 for 36 months. I can,
Jeez.
I can remember the numbers.
Oh my gosh. 80 $86. $86 a month for a car payment is well, but back then that would have been like 800 now probably.
And we can teach it. My grandson, I did buy him a car when he was in college, and he's been out 11 or 12 years. He's still driving in a car.
Oh my gosh.
You know,
That's
David,
awesome.
when you gonna get you another car? He said, when this one falls apart.
Yep. That's the way I am too, man. I think that there are a lot. We have an talk about a pandemic. How about an epidemic of people being lazy and not having work ethic? I think there's been this. I mean, back when you first got started working, there was no such thing as handouts. I mean, right? Were there handouts? Was the government giving away free money and cell phones and stuff?
I must have been left out that day.
That is that's so funny. It's true though,
Uh,
Don. It's so true.
well,
Talk a little bit about the career success plan book that you did. Um, an official publication of Napoleon Hill Foundation. Talk about and thank you again, by the way. You sent me signed copies. You always write a really nice note on the front inside of every book you send me. I'm so grateful for that, Don. I'm grateful for you. But talk about the career success plan book a little bit.
I think the whole part of it is you gotta find something or another that you'll enjoy doing. You know, if you uh, go back to your childhood things that you enjoyed doing, and some of the things are probably easy decision. I mean, if you like my only sister, she's got a great grandson. He's 7, and I asked him one day. I said, Nixon, are you going to college? Of course I'm going to college. I said, what for? He said, I'm going to be a veterinarian. The kid's 7 years old, and
Wow.
he lives on a farm. He's got his own little sheep and so forth, and he loves to ride them, and he loves being around them animals. He's going to do good. He's going to do good at what he does because he loves them. He loves them animals. He's going to be a veterinarian, uh, and work on the farms. But sure, we got people in their 50s or 60s don't know what they want to do, and and I can't tell nobody what they want to do. They got to discover that for themselves, and that's a reason that basically the things are stories and series of questions, and the things that we uh, uh, need to learn, and not just learn them, but the application of them. Which that's the important thing is what people often forget. I see a lot of people read the books over and over again, but if an if you decide you want a big old chocolate cake, and your wife makes you out a list of flavoring and chocolate chips and the flour, all this stuff that goes in, you go to the store and bring it back, and you sit it on the table. Somebody got to do something with it.
Right.
Somebody's got to do something with it. It's the application of what you've learned is the value in it, not in. I mean, I know you've always heard that saying, "an educated derelict," but you can memorize everything in the book, even this material. It's not necessary just to learn the material. It's the application of it. I said, I would tell people that if you got a book and you read a book, and I always been done it. I said, is take a pencil and mark it, you know, And what does this mean, or how can I use this and underline? So when you get through that, you can go back and pick out part of it. And say, yeah, that sounds like a good idea. Why didn't I think of that? And so forth. So so it's the reading of the material and the application of it. The fact is, my friend Russell Brunson has started a program of
ClickFunnels.
through ClickFunnels of 1357. It's all based on it's reading and applying stuff 13 minutes and 57 seconds a day.
He's in that picture right above your head.
Yeah,
That's you and Russell.
yeah, and
Russell's a good dude.
he is. He just started that. Program, and it's all Stone and Hill material, and that's what it's about. It's kind of like a study group. You got someone you can ask questions or throw out there, what does this mean, and whatever. And because not too
And
many.
what's his group called?
It's 1357. I wish I had one of the books here. I'll left over in my office.
He wrote a book called 1357.
Yeah, there's four of them.
Oh,
It means 13 minutes and 57 seconds a day of studying.
wow. Okay. I didn't even know. I'm friends with Russell, and well, we follow each other. I've had him on a live before. I didn't know that.
He just started it. Just started the program. He FedExed overnight me the four books.
Wow.
And in fact, as I talked to one of the guys just a few minutes ago, or so ago.
He's he turned ClickFunnels into hundreds of millions of dollars a year in business, and I know that he's really latched on to you, and y'all have become really good friends. And through that I'm the one that created that whole thing, like with Justin Benton.
Yeah.
I called Justin Benton and I said, dude, you need to go to Ramey's house, Don Green. They're having a big auction out there. And that's how Justin ended up. He's like, really? Should I go? And I said, you need to go. They're going to have Napoleon Hill stuff there for an auction. You need to go. And he said he called Russ and he made it happen. That's how he ended up meeting you. Is I told Justin to make sure you're at Ramey's house.
Yeah, it was something else. And then they've been to see me. I was a couple of years ago with benefactor year at the college, and I invited Russell down. I think he brought about 7 of his people. But he does, amazing work.
He does.
Been really good for the foundation. Fact is, I just spoke to Justin hour or so before I talk to you, because I was just getting clarifications for the material to give to my social media girl so we can help them promote what he's doing.
Justin is such a good dude. Oh my gosh, I love that dude. So Don, in the midst of I've got friends that have lost jobs recently, or bad relationships, and just a lot of different things going on in the world. What's the number one piece of advice you would get? I mean, what should they get? The 12 miracles of life? Should they get Think and Grow Rich? What do you think where should they start right now if they're starting over and they need to get going?
If they've never read anything, I would think it would be Think and Grow Rich. Now, these other people, like my friend Jeff Gettimore, he wrote a book in 1939, How to Sell Your Way Through Life. People else, he said that book had been more helpful to him than Think and Grow Rich. But any of that material or reading stories of other people, I mean, if you read Abraham Lincoln's story or any of the people like that, you should be inspired from somewhere along the line. I mean, I read them things, and then it began to come like, why them old boys did that? Why can't you do it too? And so something just clicked, and that's what gets me up every morning. I mean, people say they're bored. I did a fundraising in Malaysia right after a tsunami. I think it was 20 some years ago. They lost 250,000 people. and
Wow.
we did a fundraising, and they had no disruption as to property being stolen or rioted or stuff like that, in spite of losing all those people. But it was a guy who's a psychiatrist, and he told me something, which I'll never forget. He said, "You can't be unhappy, you can't be depressed if you're heavily involved in helping other people who are less fortunate,
Yep.
because it takes away. You sit there, the poor little old me. I'm getting old, and I can't do this, I can't do that. Get over it. Find someone out there that you can make a difference in their life. I mean, to buy some old kid's books or something. I'll tell you about my daughter. My daughter, she found at the local high school with one of her wealthy friends. There were quite a few of the girls didn't have prom dresses. They couldn't afford to go to prom. So what do? They get their sizes and all. They get out and shop. They bought them all prom dresses. So them
Wow.
girls could have confidence in 10 things like that. They want to be remembered that they went to the prom, not that they weren't able to go because they didn't have the proper clothes and so forth. So we can make a difference if we want to, and quit thinking about ourselves. It'll come to us if we do enough good. People will recognize you. People recognize you. I never asked Russell Brunson for anything. He just simply discovered the work we was doing, and and it made it happen. He appreciated what we was doing, and so we can develop relationships like that every day if we
Yep.
set, if we set out to do it.
It's so true. I love that. I've said the same thing. Like, go help somebody else. Like, you cannot be focused on your own crap in life, that may not be going the way you want it to go at this moment. If you're helping, I said, I don't care if it's you got a little old lady next door. Go help her weed her flower bed or do something nice for a neighbor or for
Well,
anyone.
it don't have to be money. My mother lived in her 90s and she lived alone for about the last 15 years. Her neighbor, who worked in the coal industry, he got hurt and he got on drugs. And of course, then he sold. And he got a couple of years in prison. And she knew good as anything when he was getting out that the neighbors would shun him because he's a convict,
Yeah.
ex-con.
Yeah.
Mom found out when he was getting out, when he come home, she baked a big cake and took to him because he only lived a couple of 100 feet from her yard, and uh, and she didn't have them. She didn't have. Well, she's very comfortable, but she could do something with other people. She had a little old booker. I'd be out there every night, and she'd say, "Laura, now have you took your medicine? And now when is it you go back to the doctor? And you don't have a ride, do you?" She's always involved. Of course, Laura didn't have a car, and she had a
Right.
daughter who was a professor in South Carolina, and a son. I don't mind. I'm not sure what he done, but anyway, she's always volunteered and she had her schedule. She went to nursing home. She's taking fruit and viewed them. I told her, "Mom, quit telling them people how old you are." I said, "You're older than most all of them, but you're going out there to help, make them feel bad." But she was always doing something or other. She had sewing clubs. They got together once a week and they sewed things that they sold and sent money to the Bible mission and so forth.
Wow.
She was always, and I guess it come pretty natural for the kids to do the same thing.
I think it's amazing what you've done, what the life you've led, the people you've helped, and I know you've been recognized all over the world for some of the stuff that you've done in life and with the Napoleon Hill Foundation. And I think everybody watching should go to Amazon right now and just type in the 12 miracles of life and go get yourself a copy of this and read it. And the science of success. Now there's what is that, the science of getting rich by Wallace Wattles. I'm sure you've read that or listened to it.
Good material.
Great material. And that's on, like, for anybody that's watching or listening, if you don't have the money to go get this book, right now, get on YouTube and listen to the science of getting rich 10 times in a row. Whatever you need to do to absorb this until it finally sinks in and you can take off like a rocket ship. So Don, I really appreciate you. And is there anything else you'd like to say to the audience before we close down today?
Well, we're naphill.org, NAPHILL.org. That's our website. All of our books are listed on there,
Oh,
and we can make a difference of buying the books or having someone take a course. We sell online courses, and it's sold basically all over the world. That's the reason I was in Japan a couple of months ago, and World Material. We have 40 some different publishers in Russia, 40 some different publishers in China. We got more than 500 foreign publishers that are reading Napoleon Hill's books, and it's just kind of amazing. He's more popular today than when he passed away. I mean, I've been looking at the book "Success of a Positive Mental Attitude." He wrote with Mr. Stone, 1960. Would you believe it still sells well? And it's been
wow.
65 years. Most of the books has been printed out long. You can't even find a used copy of my list to be able to buy the book. So
That's incredible.
no
And what's that one called?
success to a positive mental attitude.
Okay. There you go. You guys, there's so much material that Napoleon Hill put out, W. Clement Stone put out. I mean, Zig Ziglar. There's so many great things, but go to Nap Hill. It's NAPHILL.org.
Well, Ken, if a monkey can learn from another monkey, surely a human can learn from another human.
Well, you would think that, right? You would think that.
And people don't have money to buy the books. The libraries are stocked full of them. I didn't buy books in the beginning. I the books at the library. I, I read them and read them and read them and read them and read them, and
Yeah.
then you get to the point where you read a book and someone mentions another book, and if you like what you're reading, you'll buy the one they mentioned also, and you further your education.
I was listening to a book that Mark Victor Hansen and Jack Canfield put out. I was listening to it yesterday, and Mark talks about how in 1974 he was he was so poor he couldn't pay a bankruptcy attorney to help him file bankruptcy, and so he had to check a book out of the library called "How to Go Bankrupt on Your Own." And look at what he ended up creating with Jack Canfield, Chicken Soup for the Soul, and like anything is possible. It just takes a mindset shift.
Yeah, well, Canfield, I met both those guys. Canfield used to work for Mr. Stone, W. Clement Stone.
Yeah.
I think that's where he kind of got his start. But about everybody looks like they went back to Think and Grow Rich and Napoleon Hill somewhere along the line.
Yep. It's true. It's true.
But I appreciate everyone that supports us. I got people that I got a good friend in Billings, Montana. He sends me $40 donation every month for as long as I can remember. And we got other people that send various amounts because I think we're good stewards of the money.
Yeah.
Here on campus and see what we've done and see what we've done during the archives and a number of kids that we've helped. And personally, I've purchased a ton of rare material that I've had to archives because when I'm up and going, it'll still be available to someone else to study and to keep up what's going on. And we do. We have a ton of material. We have a ton of
It's
material.
incredible. That's incredible. So go over. I want everybody to go to naphill.org, check out all the books, get some stuff, start getting into this. If you want to change your life, change the way you think first and start thinking about I need to because life, I mean, Don, you wake up every day and you read every single day. I do the same thing. And people that say, "Oh, I quit reading back when I graduated college," or what, yeah. Oh, anyway, um, makes me crazy. Like life is all about constant learning for me.
Thanks, Ken. Thanks for
Yeah.
all that listening. Thanks to
Yeah.
those support to the work that we're trying to do.
Yeah. Thank you, Don. If you can hang on a minute and we can chat real quick, but I'm going to end the live stream. But thank you to everybody. We have almost 2,500 people watching live right now. So thank you to everybody watching and everyone who shared this. If you have not shared it, Don, I'm going to put you backstage. Just hang on for me if you would for a minute. But thank you to everybody. And Don, thank you for being here too.
Thank you, guys.
And we will see you all later. Thank you so much. Make sure you go to knaphill.org. Look up Don on all social media. He's all over the place. So look him up and follow him there, and follow Napoleon Hill Foundation. Just go to Napoleon Hill Foundation, no matter what platform you're on, you'll find them. So thank y'all so much. Have a great day. God bless y'all. I appreciate y'all being here, and we will see you later.